Hello everybody, this is Axiom Verge, all notes explained. Axiom Verge is a great game, but it doesn't explain itself in a narrative way. The whole story is given in dialogue between the main character Trace and the enigmatic beings called the Rusuli. The term Rusuli refers to a water nymph that would drag unsuspecting men to their doom underwater. However, the world surrounding this character is deeper and richer than it appears. First off, the world seems to be surrounded by technology and a long-lost civilization that has suffered a terrible calamity. In The Land of Civilized Kings, we learned the ancient civilization was actually known as Sudra. There's also mention of something in this text called the Old Machines, which may very well be the Rebirth Chambers. In Anonymous Quote, we learned that the Sudrans once did battle with something called patterns, alongside with the Kuliltu. We know from the dialogue that the patterns refer to Trace, but what are the Kuliltu? In the Kuliltu, it is said that they are undying and resent the Sudrans, possibly for keeping them imprisoned. It is implied that these Kuliltu are actually the Rusuli that we find in-game. According to the Steam trading cards and the text Oraka, we learned that one of the Rusuli was driven mad by the imprisonment of the Sudrans. These Rusuli seem to be able to conjure worlds into existence through dreams. In My Lovely, one dream in particular seems to be about a creature that the Rusuli loved to torture and kill. Somehow, the Rusuli came into contact with the English language and began to dream about a creature from Earth. It can be believed that this creature was Trace, who at this point in time was called Aetos. According to Axiom 1, minds that exist within an algorithm actually perceive that algorithm to be reality. However, it appears that this version of Aetos is incomplete or unfamiliar with the world around him. In the first journal page, Aetos discovers a variant of himself called Zidur, which attacks anything, thinking it to be a demon. This appears to be the effects of mental instability, or athetosis. Athetosis is a disease that affects children and has similar symptoms to those described by Aetos. In the second journal page, Aetos explores the idea that he is trapped in the mind of another world. Aetos' mind exists throughout time in all versions and all states. The Rebirth Chambers can summon any one of these variants, in their corrupted state or not. In the text Transcriptions, he begins to learn more about the different languages from his variants. With a little bit of work, he manages to translate the Sudran language first. Aetos then learns the secret of the breach that the Sudrans were attempting to keep secret. In his thirst to learn more, he starts to learn Vika, so he can communicate with the Rusuli. Aetos was then convinced by one of these Rusuli to release a plague, from which we learn in the security notice. In the text Aetos, we learn that Ophelia, the one that was plotting to use Aetos all along, has been betrayed. This puts the Rusuli into a panic, and in The Storm, they try to convince the Sudrans to access the Old Machines, also known as the Rebirth Chambers. Then in the text Official Letter, it explains that the plague has weakened the resolve of the Sudrans. In a reply from the High Priestess Ashinima, on the request of the noble Nin Uruna, we learn that she has decided to give the Rebirth Chambers to the Rusuli. The Sudran civilization is doomed, and we learn their fate from the text Public Notice. At this same time, Aetos is in communication with Drushka and learns about what the Rusuli are planning in the text Letter. In the final journal page, we know that Aetos has hid his pages away from the Rusuli, showing that he has abandoned any plans to cooperate with them. The Rusuli, Ophelia, after killing Katrahaska for this betrayal, acquires nanogates, and in the text Plan B, she plans to put them into the youngest variant called Trace. Next we learn in The Outsider that Elsinova distrusts Ophelia, but Aetos' betrayal has stopped their ultimate plans to escape. This is directed towards Veruska, who replies to Elsinova that there is no other choice, and they must go through with this plan. Once Aetos learns about this, he then disables the drones in a last-ditch effort to stop the Rusuli. By this time, Aetos learns that Trace is alive, and it is already too late. In the text Proverb, we learn that the patterns were ancient, and probably even predated the Sudran civilization. In one final faded note, we are shown that the youngest version of Trace came to the world before anything else and discovered the Old Machines. It is possible that after the explosion, Trace came to the world and discovered the Rebirth Chambers. When Trace finally defeats Aetos, the world he envisions is actually a dream of the Rusuli. Perhaps even the Rusuli themselves are actually programs, and the whole thing is one giant simulation programmed in a language called Sudin, due to the similarity in appearance of Thomas Happ and Trace. The rebirth chambers may serve as a mechanism for the game creator to insert himself into the game. And that is all there is to know about Axiom Verge. I'm Smokestack, signing out. Quod erat demonstrandum.